Hi, welcome. So we are going to continue with the select command, and today we are going to look at the case function. So you might have been wondering, how do we do an if statement in SQL? Because as an analyst, you would always need to use the if statement in one or two situations. Maybe if this revenue is below this level, put this segment, or you would always want to use an if. Even as a web developer, I would always want to say, if this password is in the database, then grant access to this person. Or maybe if it's a new user, if it's the first time, then show the sign in page. So if is usually something which is always very important to learn. And in this situation here, SQL has this function called case. It is in the case function that you're able to write your if statements. So if you're used to if in Excel, you can always you know that the equivalent of if is the case. So let's just go straight to the computer and look at what the case function does in SQL. So here we are going to just do a recap. We did select here. So select from, where, then we did a group by, order by, and in the last video we looked at having, which was very interesting, having. And then we said having was here, so in between these two, having. And now we want to look at something case function, which is case when, then. Is going to help us to get something which is similar to the if function here. So let's just close the comment, and then I'm going to get the staff demographic database. So remember, we've already showed you how to get this database into MySQL Workbench, as well as we showed you how to install MySQL Workbench in an earlier video. So you can always go back and take a look at these videos to see how to install this same database, get this MySQL Workbench, and we are on the same page. So let's just select that database now. Select star, then from. We are going to take the staff demographic, and then we run this now. So we get this. So this is the staff demographic table. And if we were to save it as Excel spreadsheet, I've already saved it here. So I don't need to save it again. But now I could just open it up so that we see. And then I close this. So now the select statement, if you remember, shows you the columns that you want to see. So if we hide this, we do this in the select statement. Anything we want to see is in the select statement. Anything we want to hide is here. So what we are trying to do is to create, using the if or the case in SQL, and if it was in Excel, is an if. So we'll be saying something like, if maybe this age is less than 30, then put a young, things like that. And this is what we wanted to do here. But now we are going to be doing the same thing in SQL. So let's just say this could have been called age segment, for example. And then we have, maybe here is young. That's what we are trying to do. Here is young, then maybe here is old, because the person is above 30. So these are we are trying to create a new column. So in this case, the case statement will need to be written around the select, because it is what shows or hides the column. So let's just go here and add that now here. So after the star, or selecting the couple of columns that you want, you can now add a comma, and then you add the case here. So case. Now after that, you have a when. Now when now is like your if statement. So you are saying, for example, case when age, for example, age, let's type age is less than 30. Now, remember, as we saw in Excel or your if statements, there is a true, is this true or false? So it's going to check, is this age here less than 30? Is this next age less than 30? Is this next age less than 30? And if it is true, like in this case, this 25 is less than 30, then now what value should we put if it's true? So the then now says, okay, then put a value like young. So maybe young. Now you need to complete it with an else statement, because it's always if this is true, else what else. Now if this is not true, then what should it do? So that's when you have to add now the else here. Else now return maybe something like old or so. Let's return old. Then you have to end that case statement because it's still open. So make sure you end the case statement. End. Now let's run this. So if you run this is what we get. So we get this now. So we say less than 25 is young, greater than 30. Yeah, so you see here we have old, we have young, old. So it's exactly as we wanted it to be. Exactly. So this has been able to help us get this line here. And again, remember, like we used to say, this doesn't look good, so you can always use the alias to be able to add it and say as. Then you can say maybe average or age segment. Then you run it, and now you have something interesting, which is age segment. You have the young, you have the old, you have the young, you have the old. So it's now clear, and it's more communicating clearly what we are doing here. So now that is an example of an if statement, a simple if statement. But there might be times when you want to do a nested if statement. So let's say now you want to say when age less than 30, then young. And then now you can add another condition here. So you can now say when again. Another condition can be added here. When age less than 40, then remember we've looked at if statements in Excel, so you can always go back and take a look. Then let's just put something like middle age, let's just say so. And then now there's the else, which is the old. Now let's run this and see what you get. So now it is different here because it's trying to read each line and say when age less than 30. Now this is where you need to use the between function, which says when age now, for example, between, or when age between, now put here when age between, so between 30 and, now have the and, let me put that there, and 40, then middle age. So let's run this. You see you get now the return. So you have to understand this, very important. In Excel, if you have been following this series, you would be able to use when age less than 30, then young. And then on the next line, you are able to use when age less than 40. When age less than 40, for example, then you have maybe the middle age here, middle. But in this case, you in SQL, you need to be clear about your statements. So maybe if it was like this, you need to be clear, like you've seen, you need to be clear. You need to say age maybe greater than 30 and less than 40, or as we used here, when age between 30 and 40, because it needs to read the line by line. But Excel would have ruled out this condition. Say when age is less than 30, then it moves on to the next line and says, if I'm here, it means that this one was false. It jumps here. And if I'm here, it means the next line. So you need to understand that slight difference. So, but with time and with practice, you're going to be able to capture how the two work and be able to understand how to use it. So in SQL, this is how you can write a nested if statement. So you can have many lines when maybe age between 30 and 35, or between 35 and 40, and at the end you just have this last one, which is the else, to be able to show that this is the everything else has failed here, and then you can have the else here as the last. So which also means that I could use the and, just like you've seen there. When age greater than 30, you can use the and with the or function and function. And now another condition, let's just say male, so we want to say young male. Another condition there, gender equals to male. Now we are saying that in that situation, then we have a young male. So which shows you how you can add the and. So you can say when age less than 30 and gender equals to male, then young male, else not young male, for example. Not young male, because it could be a young female, it could be an old male, so not young male. Now let's run this. So you get this now. There's the young male, and then the not young male. So which you can also use a nested if, yeah, when age greater than 30 and female. So you can always use and, or you can use or here. So you can always use your nested if statements with the and or to support it. So it's just to with practice and the case when, and remember to always put this n so that you're sure that the case is over here. So I hope you have been able to understand how to use the case statement to be able to do like if, else, nested if, and then see you next video. Wish you good data log.